everyone, and welcome back to another Create a Sim here on the channel. This is more of my D&D creations being turned into a Sims, or attempting to be turned into Sims. Some are obviously a lot easier than others, because when it comes to D&D, you know, there's a lot of races out there that are official and also homebrew ones, so when it comes to that, it's sort of hard to bring some of those races into Sims, because obviously, even with CC-wise, there are some limitations. But I really wanted to give this a try, and I've had a lot of fun creating these Sims, even the ones that are a little bit more challenging to make. Today's character is not so challenging because they are a half-elf vampire, so pretty easy to do, because pointed ears are quite easy in the Sims, even without CC, actually. So, yeah, anyway. You might notice that you might hear a little bit more background noise than usual, because I still have, there's one or two fans that I usually turn off when I record any sort of voiceovers whatsoever, because of the way that they sound. But if I turn them off, because I brought another fan into my room, like, it is so hot today, and like, with my computers and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure at some point I'm gonna have to just shut them down for longer periods of time than I usually do, because I usually, when I'm off work especially, I like to try to be editing and recording as much as possible, but I don't believe I'm going to get to do that today, not until at least nighttime, evening-ish. So yeah, it sort of sucks, but I really needed to record this voiceover, because actually this video needs to go out today, so yay, I'm going to burn up for a bit. But there was no way that I couldn't turn, I turned my air conditioner off and the one new fan, because it's actually like a giant fan. But the rest of the fans, they have to stay on, or else I am going to die. So I apologize for that, but I did move my mic a little bit closer, so hopefully that means that my voice will drown out the fans a little bit better, so when I go into the editing process, you won't hear the fans as much. So we're just gonna hope. But anyway, thank you for joining me in today's video. If you have not seen the previous characters, this is like the 5th character, I think. Wait, we've done Nita, Eva, Fee, and Vaya. So yes, this is the 5th character. And this is my first male character that you'll be seeing. I don't have too many male characters. I don't know if it's just because I naturally gravitate to making female characters, because I am a female, so like I can relate to them somewhat more, or is it partially because I just like drawing females more? I'm a lot better at drawing them than I am males. Also, Sims, I have more of an option in female. I don't know. Anyway, I don't have as many males, but here is the first one, which is Itzal Calor. And like I mentioned earlier, he is a half-elf vampire. Basically, with his story, his dad sort of went against the village at first and actually gave a relationship a try with this human lady, and ultimately, once they were together for a while, they had 2 kids together, Itzal and then his younger sister, which I'm actually forgetting her name right, Camilla. Her name's Camilla. They actually started to drift apart. He started going back to more of his old ways. He lived in a village of elves that definitely, like, they definitely are the type of elves that see themselves over top of most races, if not all races. Even others, like certain races of elves, even, like certain types of elves. So, he eventually started going more back towards that. She also started getting interested in vampires and, like, stuff on that side, which he really did not approve of, so ultimately they separated. He sort of kicked her out. He didn't want her to be a part of the kids' lives either, but I'm gonna be honest with you, after a while, he wasn't very close to the kids either, because they were only half-elves. They wasn't full elves, because, you know, that's what happens. So, he wasn't really close to them, but he still didn't want her to have them, basically. So they were always, him and his sister were always treated as sort of the outcast of the village, and eventually the village was attacked by a group of vampires, and ultimately all the kids were taken, partially to conceal who the real people were that they were after, because events going on down so many years, Itzal's mom did actually become a vampire, and actually rose to high ranks really quickly, and she wanted to turn her children. But she also didn't want other groups of people that are after her sort of little vampire clan to figure out which ones were directly her kids until they were strong enough to basically protect themselves. So that's why she had them take all the children for the most part. But Itzal and Camilla were the main two, and they were basically held captive for a bit. They were given some training until eventually they were also turned into vampires. They waited until they were a little bit older to turn them, but they did turn them into vampires. So Itzal is now a half-elf vampire, but he still is unaware of the fact that it was his mother who did the whole thing with his village. So he really hates what has happened. He escaped from the place and vowed to try to save his sister because he could not take his sister with him when he escaped. So, that is his main goal in life, is to eventually free his sister. But eventually, what I was hoping to do with her, like the story, obviously if I ever played Itzal, it would be to the DM's discretion. But if I ever used him as like an NPC, eventually Camilla would have figured out that her mom was the one behind it, and I was going to make it like, you know, she accepted being a vampire and being with her mom, versus Itzal may still have a struggle with it. But now he has like this struggle of figuring out what to do when it comes, you know, he's been trying to save his sister, but now she doesn't want to leave. Does he let her stay, or does he still try to take her? Like, it would be a whole dilemma. So depending on whether I actually got to play him ever or I used him as an NPC depends on how that part of the storyline goes. But yeah, anyway, as far as the other things about him, he is a swashbuckler rogue. It's been a really long time since I picked his subclass, so I can't remember why I picked that one. I think it was because it was one of the more, like, it was still roguelike, but it still also had more of a, I think if I remember correctly, of more in-your-face type fighting. I'm still trying to remember some things. I think in some ways it's almost geared to sound or be more like a pirate in a way. Obviously he's not a pirate, but, you know, I thought out of all the subclasses, it fit him the best. So that was the whole thing with him and his subclass there. But as you can see, with Itzal, I was trying to give him yellow. Like, he technically is supposed to have like one large yellow streak in his hair, and you should have seen like the drawing in the beginning. Sometimes with the drawing where I don't have colored forms of the drawing, it's really hard to tell what like when there's like versus a texture in the hair versus, you know, I actually wanted a different hair color. But he is supposed to have like this yellow streak through his hair, and I tried to do that in Sims, but some of them were like, obviously, like a lot of those like little streak things that I have, they're meant for specific hairs, but a lot of times they will work for other hairs, but some of them did not work, and the ones that worked, it was almost too much yellow, so ultimately I decided to keep his hair solid black, because I did want black to be the dominant color, not the yellow. If you've seen the previous Creative Sims, you do know that currently this creations that are happening right now were loosely based off of the evolutions. It was sort of my way to bring something that I already really liked and use them as inspiration to try to learn some things about D&D and get used to figuring out classes and subclasses and all that sort of stuff. So this is the Umbreon one. And in true fashion, like my Umbreon Sim, this one is a vampire as well. I just think, for some reason, something about Umbreon, if you're going to make him a humanoid-ish creature, to me, vampire just screams to me with Umbreon. So, like, even when D&D, the fact that there is vampires, I had to make him a vampire. So that's how it went. But again, it is very loosely based off of the evolutions. Obviously, you know, he's got darker clothing, because Umbreon's a darker type. Black and like yellowish gold are supposed to be his colors. In Sims, I couldn't put much yellow and gold just because of the feel that I was trying to go for and the colors that some of the things came into. That's why I was trying to do the streak in the hair, but it was overpowering, so I was like, no, never mind, I don't want to do that. So yeah, but as far as in game with his aspiration and traits, as you know, potentially, hopefully, if you've been watching these, I am putting all these characters into a household using MCC to allow me to put more than 8 Sims in a household, and then seeing what happens. It's going to be like a little mini-series after this Create a Sim and the build of the house that they're going to be living in. After both of them end, that's when that little mini-series will start, and I'm hoping to use a mod that allows me to give them 5 traits instead of just the 3. Hopefully it's updated and working by the time I go do this. But he is going to have Gloomy, Kleptomaniac, partially because of the rogue thing, Loner, Family-Oriented, because obviously his sister, and Active. I think I made his main ones Gloomy, Kleptomaniac, and Loner. I think. Unless I prioritize Family-Oriented over one of those. I can't remember. Okay, actually I did. I prioritized Family-Oriented over Loner. But he also has Gloomy and Kleptomaniac. So if I can't get the mod to work, those are the 3 that he will have. And his aspiration is good vampire, because he doesn't want to be like, yeah, he's been turned to vampire, so he's sort of got to live with this right now, but he doesn't want to be like a evil, bad creature of the night. So he's going for more of the good vampire trait. The part of the reason why I'm worrying about the aspirations and stuff is just because I want to see if they actually will do anything for their aspirations on their own. This was sort of like a little experiment test, as well as just to see what happens when all of my D&D characters are together. But yeah, anyway, you should be seeing the screenshots now. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like how Itzal turned out. If so, hit that lovely like button. Subscribe if you're not already so that you can see the future D&D characters. I have made quite a few of them, but I have shrunk it down to where I'm only going to be doing like 30-some in CAS for now. I might do a series 2, and the rest of them that are not going to be a part of this series will show up in that series. Let me know down in the comments below if you would like to eventually see later on the channel series 2 of my D&D characters and see more of them come to life in Sims. Also, let me know who is your favorite character so far. There's only been 5, but I'm interested to see out of those 5, who is your favorite as of right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hopefully will see you in the next one, but for now I am going to be leaving this video and turning all my fans back on because it is already sweating hot in here. But thank you, and I'll see you next time, hopefully. Bye bye!